What if I told you that most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or even hard work, but because they rely on the wrong approach entirely? Think about it. Every year, millions of people set goals. They promise themselves they'll get fit, start a business, save money, or improve their lives in some meaningful way. For a few days, maybe even a few weeks, they're motivated. They wake up early, they plan, they take action. But then something happens. Life gets busy, motivation fades, distractions creep in, and slowly, almost invisibly, they stop. Not because they didn't care, but because they didn't have a system. And here's the uncomfortable truth. In America alone, studies show that nearly 80% of New Year's resolutions fail within the first 2 months. That's not a motivation problem, that's a structure problem. The people who succeed are not necessarily more disciplined or smarter. They simply build systems that make success almost inevitable. Let's break this down in a way that actually makes sense. Imagine 2 people who both want to get in shape. The first person sets a goal. I want to lose 20 pounds. Sounds great, right? Clear, specific, motivating. But here's the catch. Every single day, that person has to decide, should I go to the gym today? What should I eat? Do I feel like working out? These decisions seem small, but over time, they become exhausting. Now imagine the second person. Instead of focusing only on the goal, they build a system. They schedule workouts for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. They meal prep every Sunday, and they follow a simple plan they don't have to rethink every day. Same goal, completely different approach. And guess what? The second person almost always wins, not because they're better, but because their system removes friction and makes consistency easier. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Humans are not naturally designed to make perfect decisions all the time. In fact, research suggests the average person makes over 30,000 decisions per day. Think about that for a second. From the moment you wake up, what to wear, what to eat, whether to check your phone, or whether to hit snooze, you are already using mental energy, and every single decision, no matter how small, drains that energy little by little. This is called decision fatigue, and it's one of the biggest hidden reasons people fail to stay consistent. At the start of the day, your brain is fresh, and you are more likely to make good choices. But as the day goes on, your mental energy gets depleted. When that happens, your brain shifts into survival mode. Instead of trying to make the best decision, it starts looking for the easiest one. That's why at night, after a long and tiring day, you are more likely to skip your workout, order junk food, scroll endlessly on your phone, or delay important tasks. It's not because you are lazy or don't care. It's simply because your brain is tired and wants relief. The most dangerous part is that this doesn't feel like failure. It feels harmless. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. But the next day, the same cycle repeats again. Over time, these small delays add up and quietly hold you back from your goals. Now think about how this affects your life. If every important action depends on you making the right decision in the moment, you are putting yourself in a difficult position. You are relying on something limited, your mental energy. And once that energy runs out, your consistency breaks. This is why so many people struggle. It's not a lack of discipline, it's a decision overload. They are making too many choices every day without realizing how much it drains them. This is where systems become powerful. A system removes the need to constantly decide. Instead of asking yourself whether you should work out, study, or focus, the decision is already made. It is part of your routine. You don't argue with yourself, you simply follow the plan. Many successful people understand this deeply. They simplify their daily decisions on purpose. They wear similar clothes, eat similar meals, and follow structured routines. This is not because they lack creativity, but because they want to protect their mental energy for more important decisions. When you reduce unnecessary choices, your mind becomes clearer and more focused. You save energy for things that truly matter: growth, creativity, and meaningful work. So the goal is not to become perfect at decision-making. That's unrealistic. The real goal is to design your life in a way where you don't need to make so many decisions at all. Because once you reduce decision fatigue, something powerful happens. Consistency becomes easier. Discipline feels natural. Progress starts to happen automatically. And that is the real difference between people who struggle and people who succeed. Not willpower, but the systems they build around themselves. Systems solve this problem by reducing the number of decisions you need to make. Instead of asking yourself, "What should I do today?" you already know the answer. You don't waste time thinking, debating, or relying on how you feel in the moment. You simply follow the process. And that's powerful, because most people don't fail due to lack of effort. They fail because they hesitate, overthink, and delay action. A system removes that hesitation. It creates clarity. When your actions are already planned, your only job is to execute. This not only saves mental energy, but also builds momentum. And once momentum starts, everything becomes easier. Think about it like this. When you wake up with no plan, your brain immediately starts negotiating. Maybe I'll do it later. Maybe I'll skip today. Maybe I don't feel like it. But when you have a system, there's no negotiation. It's already decided. You don't rely on motivation, you rely on structure. And structure is far more reliable than emotions. This is why people who follow systems often look more disciplined from the outside. In reality, they've just reduced the number of decisions they need to make. Now let's zoom out and talk about success in a broader sense. Most people define success as reaching a destination, getting a high-paying job, building a business, owning a house, or achieving a certain lifestyle. But that definition is incomplete, because reaching a goal is only one part of the journey. The bigger question is, can you maintain it? Can you sustain that success without stress, burnout, or losing balance in your life? True success is not just about achieving something once. It's about building a life where success becomes repeatable. It's about who you become in the process. The habits you build, the mindset you develop, and the systems you create determine whether your success lasts or disappears. Without systems, success is temporary. With systems, it becomes sustainable. You've probably seen examples of this in real life. Someone works extremely hard, achieves a big goal, and then slowly falls back to where they started. Not because they lost ability, but because they didn't build the systems needed to maintain that success. On the other hand, people who focus on systems may grow slowly at first, but over time, they build something stable and long-lasting. Their progress might not look dramatic in the beginning, but it compounds. This is why focusing only on goals can sometimes be misleading. Goals are important. They give direction, but they don't tell you what to do every day. Systems do. Goals motivate you in the short term, but systems keep you moving in the long term. If your system is strong, progress becomes automatic. Think about high-stakes environments like aviation or medicine. Pilots don't rely on memory alone. They follow strict checklists before every flight. Even after years of experience, they don't skip the process. Why? Because they understand that small mistakes can have serious consequences. The checklist ensures consistency every single time. Doctors use structured methods to diagnose patients. They don't just guess based on intuition. They follow step-by-step procedures, tests, and protocols to make accurate decisions. These systems exist for a reason. They reduce errors, improve reliability, and create consistent outcomes. These professionals understand something most people overlook. When the stakes are high, consistency matters more than creativity. It's not about doing something new every day. It's about doing the right things the same way every time. The same principle applies to your life. Whether it's your health, your work, your finances, or your relationships, your results depend on what you do consistently, not occasionally. One good decision won't change your life. One bad decision won't ruin it either. But repeated actions, good or bad, shape your future. That's why systems are so powerful. They turn effort into habit, and habit into results. Instead of relying on bursts of motivation, you create a steady flow of progress. And over time, that steady progress leads to extraordinary outcomes. When you truly understand this, your focus shifts. You stop asking, "How do I reach my goal quickly?" and start asking, "What system can I follow every day?" That shift changes everything. Because once your system is right, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes something that naturally happens as a result of your actions. Let's bring this closer to everyday life. Imagine you're trying to build a business. Without a system, every day starts with uncertainty. You wake up and decide what to do based on your mood, energy, or motivation. Some days you feel inspired and get a lot done, but other days you feel stuck, distracted, or overwhelmed, and progress slows down. Over time, this inconsistency creates frustration because you're working hard but not moving forward in a clear direction. Now compare that to someone who follows a system. They don't rely on how they feel. They have a structured routine, mornings dedicated to deep, focused work, afternoons for meetings or communication, and evenings for learning and improvement. They track their progress, review their performance weekly, and make small adjustments when needed. This consistency builds momentum, and over time, small daily efforts compound into meaningful, long-term results. Another powerful example comes from personal finance. Many people struggle to save money, even when they earn a decent income. The problem isn't always how much they earn, it's how they manage it. Most rely on willpower, telling themselves they'll save whatever is left at the end of the month. But after spending on daily needs, unexpected expenses, and small impulse purchases, there's usually nothing left to save. Now compare that to someone who uses a simple financial system. As soon as their paycheck arrives, a fixed portion is automatically transferred to savings or investments before they have a chance to spend it. There's no decision-making involved, no reliance on discipline in the moment. Over time, this small, consistent habit builds financial stability and even wealth, proving that structure often matters more than intention. Health is another area where systems make a huge difference. Most people already know what they should do: eat healthier, exercise regularly, and get enough rest. But knowing isn't the problem. Consistency is. Without a system, these actions depend on motivation, which naturally fluctuates. Some days you feel energized and committed, while other days you don't feel like doing anything at all. A system removes that uncertainty. You plan your meals ahead of time, so you're not making decisions when you're tired or hungry. You schedule workouts like fixed appointments instead of optional tasks. Over time, these behaviors turn into habits, reducing the need for constant effort. What once felt difficult becomes automatic, and that's when real, lasting change begins. Building a system is not exciting at the beginning, and that's exactly why most people avoid it. It requires you to slow down, think clearly, and organize your actions before you even see results. In a world where everyone wants quick success, this feels uncomfortable. But what most people don't realize is that this slow start is actually the fastest path to long-term success. A system is like setting up a machine. At first, you invest time building it, adjusting it, and making sure it works. But once it's running, it keeps producing results with less effort. Even on days when you don't feel motivated, the system carries you forward. Another critical thing is simplicity. The biggest mistake people make is trying to build perfect, complicated systems that look impressive but are impossible to follow consistently. A system should be so simple that you can stick to it even on your worst days. Because real success doesn't come from doing everything perfectly. It comes from showing up again and again. A small habit done daily will always outperform a big effort done occasionally. That's why consistency beats perfection every single time. The easier your system is to follow, the more likely you are to stick with it, and the longer you stick with it, the more powerful your results become. There's also a deeper psychological shift that happens when you follow a system. Every time you complete a small task you planned, you build trust in yourself. You start proving that you can rely on your own actions, not just your intentions. Over time, this creates confidence, and that confidence fuels more action. On the other hand, relying only on motivation creates a cycle of starting and stopping, which slowly destroys confidence. Systems break that cycle. They give you stability, direction, and control over your progress. And once you start experiencing that, you realize that success isn't about big moments. It's about what you do consistently every single day.